The Eglinton Crosstown LRT has become something of a symbol in Toronto, not of progress, but of how painfully slow it can be to get a major infrastructure project completed in this city. After more than a decade of construction, countless blown deadlines, and over $12 billion spent in combined costs between the crosstown and its extensions, the light rail line finally entered its crucial 30-day revenue service demonstration phase earlier this month. This was supposed to be the final hurdle, a period of intense testing meant to simulate real-world passenger service without actually opening to the public. Yet, in a moment that perfectly encapsulates the crosstown's troubled history, that testing was suddenly and unexpectedly paused after an incident at the Mount Dennis maintenance yard, raising new questions about whether this line can ever seem to catch a break. According to reports from multiple outlets, the incident happened around October 16th at the Eglinton Maintenance and Storage Facility, the massive Mount Dennis yard built to house and service the crosstown's fleet of Astrum Flexity Freedom light rail vehicles. What's been confirmed so far is that 2 LRT vehicles made contact inside the yard. While officials were quick to assure the public that no injuries occurred and that the incident did not happen on the main line, the collision was serious enough that Metrolinx decided to temporarily pause all vehicle movements and suspend testing while an internal investigation was launched. The timing couldn't have been worse. Testing had only recently begun in full after years of technical delays, software issues, and disputes between Metrolinx and Crosslink Transit Solutions, the private consortium building the line. The 30-day testing phase, which started on October 7th, was meant to simulate the conditions of daily operation, trains running from end to end, signal functioning as they would in service, and operators, maintenance crews, and control staff all working under live conditions. The point was simple: to prove that the system could operate reliably for 30 consecutive days without any significant failures or safety issues. That demonstration period is essentially the last checkbox before the crosstown can open to the public. When the Mount Dennis incident occurred, the line's operations were immediately suspended. Metrolinx spokespersons issued a carefully worded statement saying the testing had been temporarily paused following an incident in the maintenance and storage facility. The agency stressed that safety was the priority and that no one was hurt, but they declined to go into any further detail pending an internal review. Transportation Minister Pradmeet Sarkarya's office followed up with a similar statement, saying the government had been briefed and that testing would resume once it was safe to do so. Behind the scenes, however, frustration was mounting. Sources close to the project described the incident as a collision between 2 trains that may have resulted from human error, possibly a shunting or coupling mishap with the yard. While such accidents are not uncommon in complex rail systems, they are always taken seriously, especially during a high-stakes phase like revenue demonstration testing. The vehicles involved reportedly sustained some damage, though Metrolinx has not publicly described the extent of it. The yard was briefly closed off for inspection while safety officers reviewed procedures and control systems. What made this event so significant wasn't just the physical damage, it was a blow to public perception. For years, Toronto residents have watched this project transform Eglinton Avenue into a perpetual construction zone. The crosstown was first promised to open in 2020, a date that came and went as Metrolinx and Crosslinx traded blame over construction delays and design flaws. Then it was pushed to 2021, then 2022, and by 2023, Metrolinx refused to give any firm date at all, saying only that the project would open when it was safe and reliable. Earlier this fall, with testing underway, there was finally a hint of optimism. Some insiders suggested that if the 30-day demonstration went smoothly, a late 2025 opening might finally be possible. The incident at Mount Dennis was a sudden reminder of how fragile that optimism is. To its credit, Metrolinx moved quickly to resume testing. After a roughly week-long pause, the agency confirmed that vehicles were once again running along the full 19-kilometer route between Mount Dennis and Kennedy Station. Officials said the investigation determined the incident was isolated and attributed to human error. Procedures at the yard were reportedly reviewed and reinforced before testing resumed. The ministry's statement called the decision to restart a sign of progress, emphasizing that no systematic issues were found that would jeopardize safety. Still, many transit advocates weren't convinced. Groups like TTC Riders, which have long demanded greater transparency around the project, called the handling of the incident disappointing and accused Metrolinx of hiding behind vague language. They argued that the public deserved to know what exactly went wrong, how it was fixed, and whether this setback would affect the crosstown's already elusive opening timeline. Even members of Toronto City Council expressed concern that Metrolinx was being overly secretive, an accusation the agency has faced before. The lack of transparency is part of a broader trust problem for Metrolinx. Over the past few years, the agency has been criticized for withholding information about the crosstown's readiness. Last year, it emerged that there were major defects in parts of the track slab and electrical systems that required remediation before trains could safely operate. At one point, Crosslinx even took Metrolinx to court, alleging the agency was making unrealistic demands that would delay the project further. All of this had made the public understandably skeptical whenever Metrolinx insisted that things were on track. In the case of the Mount Dennis yard, it appears that the problem was indeed contained. Maintenance yards are complex environments, with vehicles constantly being moved, coupled, and stored. Even in well-run systems, minor collisions can happen when visibility is low or communication between operators is unclear. However, in a project as politically sensitive as the Crosstown, even a small mishap can quickly become headline news. The fact that Metrolinx and the Ministry of Transportation didn't immediately disclose key details only fed speculation online, including rumors that potentially damage to signaling systems or the software that manages vehicle movement inside the yard had something to do with the incident. For now, the best available information suggests that those fears were overblown. Testing resumed within days, and there have been no reports of any further incidents since. In fact, by late October, observers reported seeing multiple vehicles running in both directions through central Eglinton, a good sign that systems are functioning as expected. The current goal, according to unofficial sources close to the project, is to complete the 30-day testing period by mid-November, assuming no further interruptions occur. If that schedule holds, the Crosstown could finally be handed over to the TTC for final preparations before opening to passengers sometime in 2025 still. However, the pause still serves as a cautionary tale about how delicate this phase is. The 30-day test requires that trains operate flawlessly. If any major safety or reliability issues arise, the clock resets. That means even a small incident can push the timeline back by weeks. Every day of delay also adds pressure to both Metrolinx and the provincial government, which is already facing criticism for its management of other projects like the Ontario Line, the Finch West LRT, and the Eglinton Crosstown West Extension. It's worth remembering just how much is riding on this project. The Crosstown is the largest transit expansion in Toronto's recent history, a 25-stop, 19-kilometer light rail line running underground through Midtown and on the surface in the east. It's meant to carry up to 5,000 passengers per hour per direction and finally provide relief to one of the city's most congested corridors. When it opens, it will connect to 54 bus routes, 3 subway stations, and several GO lines, effectively creating a new east-west spine for the TTC network. For Toronto commuters, the promise of a smooth, modern, reliable LRT line can't come soon enough. But for now, the reality is that the Crosstown remains in the testing stage, and any incident, no matter how small, reverberates through public confidence. The Mount Dennis yard collision may ultimately prove to be a minor technical setback, but symbolically it's another reminder of the fragility and opacity that have defined this project for more than a decade. Toronto's patience is wearing thin, and every delay feels like a repetitive story every single time. If there's one positive takeaway, it's that testing did resume quickly, suggesting that the project teams are now more responsive and that safety protocols worked as intended, but the pressure is immense. After 14 years of construction, billions in taxpayer money spent, and a public growing wary of excuses, the Crosstown's long-awaited opening can no longer afford another serious setback. For Toronto, the Crosstown represents both hope and frustration, a promise of modern transit wrapped in years of bureaucracy and mismanagement. The recent yard incident might be only a footnote in the long story of Eglinton's rebirth, but it also shows how sensitive the project has become to even the smallest mishap. The next few weeks of testing will determine whether Metrolinx can finally deliver what it has been promising since 2010. A working light rail line that connects the city's heart, restores faith in public transit, and closes the book on one of Toronto's most troubled infrastructure sagas. I hope that you liked the video. If so, please give it a like. If you're not subscribed and want to be notified of new videos that are released, please click on the Art Toronto button here. This is the video that I would recommend for you to watch next, and I'm sure that you're going to love it. Here's the playlist for all of the latest in transit news and views that you're going to find very informative and interesting. And finally, here is the latest video. Thanks for watching, and happy transiting.